Why is it that the Kanchi Shankaracharya got attacked? Why is it that Pejawar Swami got attacked? Why is it that Jeer Swami got attacked? And of course, we all know Swami Nityanand. Why did he get attacked? This show takes you behind the scenes, tells you the important social work being done by these four major Swamis in South India, for which they were attacked by people who do not like that kind of social work to be done. They were helping the Dalits, they were helping underprivileged communities, and because the Breaking India forces would rather not have those problems solved, and the Breaking India forces are co-opting these social people, these Dalits, they attack these four gurus. That's a major story which hasn't been told adequately. So please watch this. Each segment covers one Swami, and in the end I will give you my important message on how the Hindu community needs to come together. Namaste. I want to discuss an important controversy, an important issue to wake up our people, which people hear about here and there, but not in such an organized way. Our major gurus in India are being attacked and persecuted by people who don't want them to continue the work they are doing. And in particular, gurus who are very successful in working with underprivileged communities like Dalits, places where there's poverty, places where they need a lot of social economic help. Gurus who are very successful in addressing these problems are particularly attacked. So the strange thing is, on the one hand we are told we are not doing enough for these people, and on the other hand those of us who stick their neck out and spend many years and a lot of resources and energy helping these people get attacked. Why they are being attacked is because there are certain forces that I have called Breaking India forces that are very jealous. They want to take control of the underprivileged Indians and use them as ammunition, as weapons against the dharma and against the nation. So those gurus who say we will go to these poor villages and start helping them get attacked. False cases are made against them, allegations are made against them, all kinds of sensational media, and this kind of work is being done by NGOs that have been foreign funded, many of them, and the media plays a role. So there is this whole extreme left playing this kind of role. This is the Breaking India nexus with a lot of sepoys at work. So today we are going to talk about four such cases, four prominent gurus. So the first example will be Kanchi Shankaracharya. The second example will be the Pejawar Swami, who has a very important mutt. The third example will be Jeer Swami, and the fourth example will be Swami Nityanand. Now what's important is that they come from very different sampradayas, very different perspectives within the dharma. As we know, Kanchi Shankaracharya is Advait Guru, a very important, well-known Advait Guru. Pejawar Swami is Madhava Dvait Guru. He has a sampradaya from there. Jeer Swami promotes Ramanuja's Sri Vaishnavism, the Vishisht Advait, the qualified dualism. And Swami Nityanand is actually very eclectic. He embodies all these views, but prominent in the way he's bringing back the Agama for evolution of humanity and evolution of consciousness. So, these are four important acharyas, important gurus, important swamis. They all happen to be in the south, where the problem is particularly acute, but we could also illustrate with similar cases elsewhere in India. Now, to help me, I have an expert who's done research in this area. He is in Chennai and we are here on Skype. I want to welcome Surendranath ji. Surendranath Chandranath is a software engineer based in Chennai. Welcome to my show, Surendranath ji.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Thank you for having me on your show.
It's an honor. I came across your book. The book is called Udupi Iftar Controversy. That is one of our examples. So this book and what he is writing and what he is talking is very important. So I invited him to develop this, help me develop it with some research and turn it into a full episode. So I'm glad that we're working together. So let's go through the 4 cases. The first example is Kanchi Shankaracharya. So Surendranath ji, tell us what is going on, what is the outreach. I think each case we will go through first a little bit about why the Swami is very important, then what is his outreach with the Dalit community, then how he is being persecuted as a result of that by the Breaking India Nexuses. So please continue.
As we all know, the Kanchi Shankaracharya has a long track record of leadership, both in the spiritual as well as the social realm, for all people across India, across all communities. We'll specifically look at the work and the outreach he has done for people from the Dalit communities, especially in Tamil Nadu. He has broken a critical stalemate. In 2002, he actually offered worship at a temple where the priests are Dalit and in a region which had seen a lot of conversions of Dalit people by various forms of coercion and by inducement. And he has reached out in such a way. And again, he has frequently visited Dalit localities, Dalit villages, and met them, spoken to them. And along with that, he has also been instrumental in helping Dalit people get on their foot by forming organizations and giving them a forum to actually gain social strength and social dignity of their own by themselves and for themselves. So this is one example of the kind of, these are several examples of the kind of Dalit outreach that he has done.
So in the first slide, what the point being made is that he broke a certain practice where the Dalits felt they were not included, and he went to them and personally visited them, brought them into the fold, gave them equal status, and so this is the point of the first slide, I guess.
That is correct, sir.
So now tell us what is happening here.
Along with premier visits and outreach to Dalit communities and neighborhoods, the Mutt directly has organized medical assistance. The Mutt's organization has helped in disaster relief, and they have also set up educational as well as medical institutions which provide medical help and good quality and low cost education for people from all communities, and without any, as is commonly believed, without any kind of discrimination between people and children from different backgrounds. Children of all backgrounds are accommodated and treated the same in the schools and colleges which the Mutt runs. And in fact, one of their medical services, the Hindu Mission Hospital or the Kanchi Kamakoti Child's Trust Hospital, has done signal service in medical assistance to people and patients from underprivileged segments of society.
Tell us about this musician that he's honoring, and all of the background of this musician and what it signifies.
Yes. If you look at this picture here, there is a common misconception that people who are not Brahmin are treated differently at the Kanchi Mutt from people who are Brahmins. Here we are seeing the music composer Ilayaraja, who is actually a very dharmic, a very religious person, and who happens to be of Dalit Christian heritage. His background is set as a Dalit Christian, which he himself does not deem to be of much consequence, and the Shankaracharya himself does not deem to be of much consequence. All that matters is his devotion and his true belief and faith. And here we are seeing a private audience that Mr. Ilayaraja has with the Shankaracharya, and he is performing certain bhajans and religious songs for the Shankaracharya.
Excellent, excellent. So this gives us a little bit about the kind of work he's done. Now tell us how and why people have persecuted the Shankaracharya of Kanchi.
I can probably talk to first how there was a lot of persecution and harassment of the Kanchi Shankaracharya, and then we can probably I can talk a bit about the possibilities why they actually engaged in such an behavior. If we go back in 2004, there was a murder of a person called Shankar Raman, who was the manager of the Varadaraja Perumal temple. It was a shocking murder because the murder actually happened in the premises of a temple, and based on circumstantial evidence or suspicion of evidence, the Kanchi Shankaracharya, both the junior and the senior pontiffs, were included as possible accused, and they were included, and we all know about the way in which they were arrested and they were treated and arrested and jailed and treated. What I want to focus on
and
is
I think
the behavior.
I think people should be reminded they were arrested on Diwali day.
Yes.
And Jayalalitha's government
is-
did that. And there were certain people behind the scenes who were well-known Hindus who allegedly played a role in making this happen out of jealousy, rivalry or whatever. So let's continue. Yeah.
Yes. If we go to this period and the kind of behavior the press in general engaged in, and less known to the public, general public outside of Tamil Nadu, the kind of behavior the Tamil press engaged in. There was, first of all, there was one particular instance of a murder in which the Shankaracharyas, both the junior and senior, were included as possible suspects. And around this, there was a trial by media in which unrelated cases were dug up, stories were dug up, lurid stories were published, and there was in general there was a media frenzy that occurred. So we just take a couple of examples of an individual called S. Anand, who used to write in Outlook India and who is currently a publisher of a publishing house called Navayana. This gentleman claims to be a crusader for Dalit rights. And at the time, this person really wrote a lot in Outlook, much of which was pretty scurrilous writing. And there were accusations. In total, there were about 5 or 6 other cases which were added on. And out of those, one of those cases, there was found to be no prima facie evidence, and the case was dropped. In, of course, the Shankar Raman murder case, the murder case itself, all the accused were acquitted of all charges. And the other few cases, which were just dug up and published all over the papers, the dailies, and the magazines, they were never even taken up for prosecution. Not even a charge sheet was filed. Nevertheless, the damage was done.
Yeah. So I want to say that this persecution shook up the whole Hindu community worldwide. Okay, and I remember this very well when it happened. I have personally met the Kanchi Shankaracharyas, both of them, the senior and junior, have a huge regard for them. They are extremely profound and wise and very practical in helping society. I have a long interview in my Dialogue with the Masters series with the junior Shankaracharya, where he explains his vision, all his programs all over India, internationally, to help humanity. Very, very socially active. I don't know why such people don't get the Nobel Peace Prize while Mother Teresa does. And not that Nobel Peace Prize should be our criteria for greatness. I mean, that's just a Western reward. But the point I'm making is that even our government looks at Western recognition, like Mother Teresa got, as a sort of gold standard of who ought to get the Bharat Ratna and who ought to get all kind of recognitions, when in fact traditions from within the soil that have been around for a very long time are doing far greater work. So I was very impressed with the Shankaracharya in our conversation, and then after the conversation ended on camera, we continued talking and he gave me a lot more detail. So this is a very clear case of somebody who is achieving an enormous amount for our tradition and being persecuted exactly because he's being so successful. So let's move on to the second one. Pejawar Swami example is another important one. So give us that example, please.
The Pejawar Swami is the current pontiff of the Pejawar Mutt, one of the Dvaita mutts, and he has a very long and illustrious pontiffhood of almost 80 years, and he's a saint of more than 80 years in age. And from his life story, we get to find out that right from the time he has assumed his position as the Swami at Pejawar, as the Mathadipati at Pejawar, he has been very, very eager and very sincere in reaching out to Dalit people, especially. In fact, in one of the early 70s, he has actually spoken out very strongly against untouchability at Vishwa Hindu Parishad Sammelan and publicly embraced a Dalit person who also happened to be an IAS officer, but publicly, physically embraced a Dalit person just to prove the point that it is extremely wrong to practice untouchability. He has reached out to, he has visited Dalit villages. He has performed the Vaishnava Diksha, which is a form of ordainment for lay devotees in the Madhva Sampradaya. And he has performed it for people from all backgrounds, all communities. And here actually we are seeing him performing this Diksha for a person from the Dalit community in the premises of the mutt itself. Here in this, in another cases, he has visited, it is not just a question of visiting hamlets, and he has gone into their homes, conducted pujas in their homes, and blessed them in their home. To give a context to people who may not be fully aware of the context, to have somebody like the Pejawar Swami visit your home is one of the greatest honors that you can receive. I mean, I know people who are of a certain age, they can still remember when their particular Guruji visited their house, even 50, 60 years down the line, and they would not even sell their homes, the houses, even though nobody was living there, they would not sell it just because the Guruji had visited it some 50 or 60 years. To be able to get that kind of recognition for somebody from a Dalit hamlet is a phenomenal act of empowerment within the Hindu sampradaya and within the Hindu fold. It gives them an enormous sense of dignity and pride and empowerment, which the Pejawar Swami, to his credit, has. I don't know. I'm nobody to give him credit, but which he has done. So here we are seeing the Swami. The people whom the Swami is visiting are actually from among the most marginalized communities, which are the who work in corporations, in municipal corporations as conservancy workers, cleaning the roads and so on. So he has visited their houses. So you are seeing some pictures there.
So Surendranathji, this slide sort of summarizes some of the reaction against Pejawar Swami for all this great work that he's done. So tell us what is going on.
Last year, there was a particular agitation called the Chalo Udupi agitation in Karnataka. This Chalo Udupi agitation in Karnataka was supposed to harness the anger of the Dalit people against the discrimination that they were facing. And the focus of this agitation was the Udupi Mutt. And the basis of focusing on the Udupi Mutt was certain false accusations of discrimination against Dalits in the Mutt. And the face of the Chalo Udupi movement was a certain gentleman called Prasad. And he had derived inspiration from the very successful Chalo Una movement in Gujarat, which was led by yet another gentleman called Jignesh Mewani. Now, Jignesh Mewani and Prasad, these two gentlemen are the faces behind these agitations. Mr. Mewani is connected to and is a protege of a gentleman called Martin Makwan, who runs a trust called Navsarjan in Gujarat, and who has, which is heavily funded from abroad. And he runs other organizations called Dalit Foundation, where there are people across India who are working, and some of these people on the board of the Dalit Foundation are working in sensitive regions of India. And this person called Prasad, he was picked up by the Indian Writers Forum, a group based in Delhi, and he was mentored by them to engage in activism. And the Indian Writers Forum includes a subtle gentleman called Lawrence Liang. This person, Lawrence Liang, has been associated with the Soros Open Society Foundation in the past.
Is it relevant to point out that Martin McGowan works as a Christian proselytizer?
I think so, yes. It is particularly relevant that Mr. Makwan works as a Christian proselytizer.
Yeah, because that's an important detail I think we can't miss out, he's not just a Dalit activist. There's nothing wrong in that. We want Dalit activists. We want people who are helping the underprivileged. But he's doing it as a Christian proselytizer, very heavily funded from overseas. So the issue is, as I see it, the issue is that this Chalo Udupi movement was fronted by two people who are heavily connected behind the scenes with foreign funded NGOs and the Christian proselytizing movement. So let's move on to the third example. In the third example, Jeer Swami, another very prominent person from the Ramanuja lineage, he is the one who is who's done a lot of good work and having these problems. So Surendranath ji, tell us about him.
The Jeer Swami, he is popularly known as the Mannargudi Jeer Swami because of the town where his mutt is based. Right from the time he has taken over as the pontiff of this mutt, he has been quite interested in performing, in reaching out to Dalit people, especially the most marginalized, and visiting their homes, conducting pujas, meeting their children, and many other activities of this sort. He's also been very outspoken against conversion, which is something that we will see a little bit more of and how it is relevant to what we are saying. Now, he has met children from the Dalit colonies. He has actually visited people, reached out to them, spoken to them, taught them. I mean, they listen to their bhajans and breaking the shackles of his particular sampradaya without compromising his duties as a religious leader. But at the same time, in reaching out to these people, he has gone and given the Pancha Samskara, a particular ordination for lay Vaishnavas, Sri Vaishnavas. He has given the Pancha Samskara to hundreds of people across communities. And here we also see that there is absolutely no difference among people inside the mutt's premises. So everybody is welcome to come and pay respects to the Swami in his mutt, and everybody is served prasadam equally in the mutt. A critical part of the Jeer Swami's outreach to Dalit people has been social help and helping them out. Here we are actually seeing the Swami going to Dalit colonies in the Kadalur district during the 2015 floods, and the people who worked for him in the mutt and volunteers, he coordinated the relief efforts personally. He went there personally to people's places and helped them out during the floods. This is a problem for certain interests simply because natural calamities are seen as a very good opportunity to convert. An example is the 2004 tsunami, after which it was widely documented that many coastal communities had converted en masse to Christianity. Now, a Swami actually taking part in relief activities on the ground in floods becomes a big problem for people who convert.
So tell us how and why he was attacked for doing these kind of things.
So last month in June, the Swami, while traveling, noticed cattle which were being transported and in a manner which was not following the rules. They were just packed too tightly together. So he and the people with him just asked the people to stop that, and he took the cattle and the vehicle in which the cattle was being transported to the police station and asked the police to file a complaint and have the cattle transported to wherever they were going in proper conditions. Now, when this fairly innocuous incident occurs, people from the Vidudalai Chirutaigal Kachi, VCK, which is a party which claims to be speaking for Dalit people, the communists and Islamist organizations came to the police station, and to keep the Swami and his people safe, the police actually had to bring them into the police station. And even after that, even after the cattle were then shifted to another transport, they were stone throwing, and one person who was traveling with the Swami was injured in the stone throwing. Now, this was reported as is during the initial first few reports, but within a week, the spin had started. Now, without naming the Swami, Frontline mentioned that the farmer who was transporting the cows and calves came under attack. And within a week, Hindustan Times was trying to spin the story where they said there was stone throwing, but they didn't mention who threw the stones and who got hurt. And it seemed as though, so once you do that, it spins as though the Swami and his disciples were engaging in violence.
So it's a way of manipulating the facts, and mainstream media, we know, does this on a very regular basis. So that's another example. So far, just to recap, we have had one example of a guru who's an Advait Vedant guru from the Adi Shankara tradition. The second example was Dvait from the Madhvacharya tradition. A third example was Vishishta Dvait from the Ramanuja tradition, to show that people of various kinds, it's not an attack on one particular genre or one particular intellectual tradition within the dharma, but all of these are being attacked. The common thread is that they were doing social work. My fourth example is a very prominent and important example, and that is Swami Nityanand. I know Swamiji personally. I have a huge regard and respect for him and the work he's doing. When I first got to know him, I was very impressed that he had developed these temples on wheels. So the temple a large truck would be converted into a temple, and when it's driving from village to village, it would be closed up, and then when it would arrive in a village, they would open all the walls, and it would become an open air thing, and they would have steps going to it. It would be beautiful, very well decorated temple with lot of bhajans, music, lot of singing, kirtan style. They would give medicines to the people in that village. They would give prasad. They would give a little pravachan, discussion, answer their questions, and then they would pack up and move on to the next village. So a truck would go have a route every week to visit a certain number of villages in Tamil Nadu, and they targeted the districts with heavy proselytizing and heavy this anti-dharma activism. And I was very impressed by what they were doing. In fact, some of us were raising funds to sponsor these trucks, these mobile temple on wheels concept, because we felt that we found that the places where Swamiji's temple on wheels were going were able to reverse the proselytizing. The church could not compete against something so important. The church puts a church in every village, and Swamiji, instead of us having to raise so much funds to put a mandir in every village and a pujari in every village, we put in our wheels and have a mobile unit. So one temple on wheels could compete against 100, 200 churches, because it could visit lots of places. And so this is a very difficult thing for the church to figure out, because it hit them pretty hard. And then there was a very important event in Swamiji's ashram in Birdi near Bangalore, where people from all these villages that had come back to our community, come back to Hinduism, marched for days, for 1 or 2 days and nights. They stopped along the way. They were all wearing white. They were all, men, so many men. There were so many women in different groups, coming from different villages, almost like some Republic Day parade kind of a thing, but a very spiritual version. And they were coming, and each of them would bring their whole chariot, their mandir and all that on wheels to kind of show solidarity. So it was like you see a Kumbh Mela where all the different groups get together. So this was Swamiji's version of that. I was very impressed by this. But then, of course, these kinds of activities and being very in the face, open about the criticism of Breaking India forces brought a huge amount of persecution. So I want to show you in the next slide also. I want to show you a lot of social projects during calamities, a lot of food distribution, and in every one of these programs that Swamiji has, people like myself pay a very hefty fee, and we should, because it's outstanding work. But people should remember that for every one person like me or any of you guys who are privileged enough to go there and attend these programs, for every one of us there are several others who are underprivileged that get in free. So this money is also being distributed, the funding that comes from those who can afford. It's almost like take fees from those who can afford and also help those who cannot afford. So this is essentially what socialism tries to achieve but is not able to achieve. But dharma here in this case is achieving the objective that socialism wants to achieve but just doesn't have the ability to do so. And this is volunteer. It's not like forced taxation like in the socialist system. It's appealing to people's dharmic sensibilities that you should help the Swamiji's organization because of all the good work he's doing, and people like to do that. So Swamiji has a very large amount of outreach for spiritual messages to the underprivileged, education, food, medical, all sorts of relief. Now I want to show you the persecution that started. Swamiji was accused of all sorts of things. He was accused of sex with a person when that person herself said no such thing happened. Okay, so third parties are insinuating that somebody is a victim, but the so-called victim is not saying that I'm a victim. There is a large amount of these. Some people said that he has a tiger skin which is banned, but it was found to be not really tiger skin, but a kind of an artificial something looking like a skin. So in this way, then there were allegations that he's taken property, but then it was found after a lot of investigation that all the titles were belonging to him. People had donated these, and those people were willing to come up and say yes. So one after another, over 100 cases that were filed against him were removed, were finished off in courts. So you cannot say that 100 different cases and so many judges and courts are all sort of biased, because this is scattered across time and space, some in Karnataka, some in Tamil Nadu, and so on. Now the interesting thing is that the media were so angry at him that they just went on and on broadcasting fake videos that had been morphed, that had been doctored up. Later on it was found by forensic experts that these videos were doctored up. But they were, for several months, they just went on, and this was a media persecution, and the police stupidly sided with the media and assumed that the media knows more about prosecuting a case than a court does. So while the court process took a while, a few years, to clean up all the smear campaign, but the damage had been done already. So I was involved in the different stages. I don't want to repeat all the details of what all happened, but I've given you a sense of it. I want to show you a video where the person, somebody from the Sun TV, a prominent TV in Tamil Nadu, later on confesses and later on is found to have doctored up all this evidence that he had relied upon fake videos. And this is a very big TV station. They ought to be prosecuted. I mean, they ought to be taken to the cleaners for that, because this should be unacceptable. I'll show you a little video with the English subtitles, so please watch.
நித்யானந்தா சிடி விவகாரத்தில் சன் டிவி பணம் பறிப்பு வேலையில் ஈடுபட்டதாகவும், தொழில் அதிபர்கள் மற்றும் பிரபலங்களை மிரட்டி பணம் பறிக்கும் வேலையில் சன் டிவி தொடர்ந்து ஈடுபட்டு வருவதாகவும் புகார் கூறியுள்ளார்.
அந்த நியூஸ் எடிட்டரும் அவர் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்ல இருக்கிற ஆளும் அவங்க பண்ண ஒரு மிரட்டல் நாடகம் தான் இந்த நித்யானந்தா. அந்த நியூஸ் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் எதுவா இருந்தாலும் காசு கொடுத்தா போடுவாங்க, காசு கொடுத்தா நிப்பாட்டுவாங்க. அந்த நியூஸ் எடிட்டர் ராஜா இன் டீம் தான் சார், அவங்க தான் சார் பண்றது. அவங்க டீம்ல போனது ஒரு நெட்வொர்க் வச்சு தமிழ்நாடு ஃபுல்லா ஆட்களை வச்சுக்கிட்டு ஒரு ஃபேக்டரியை போய் கவர் பண்ண சொல்றது. ஃபேக்டரியில இருந்து கழிவு நீர் வருது, மக்கள் பீதியில இருக்காங்க, அவஸ்தைப்படுறாங்க, 2 கழிவு இருமுற மாதிரி ஷாட்டை போடுறது. மறுபடியும் பின்னாடியே ஒரு ஆள் அமைச்சு காசு பேசி பேரம் பேசி வாங்குது.
So the point I want to make is why we've seen 4 cases, and Surendra Nath ji, thank you for bringing up bringing this issue and working with me systematically for many back and forth. We went to make sure we got all the information valid to bring out these 4 examples which are part of a bigger issue. I think what we want to raise is Hindus are being persecuted, the media is involved in this persecution, the NGOs are involved, and certain governments like the one of Jayalalitha was involved. We hope this thing changes. And my closing comment is, why haven't Hindus come together to help each other? Why is it that when a particular guru or a swami is attacked in this way, he has to face it alone? He is alone facing it. Others either leave, avoid, ignore, or at best they will privately support but don't want to get themselves in trouble. So what has happened is that the enemy has succeeded in dividing us. The enemy has succeeded in putting fear in us. So we can't even stand up for each other. And therefore the expectation is after we've been fragmented and divided up, they take us one by one, isolate each one at a time, and finish us off. And that is how India lost its freedom. India lost its freedom when the Rajas, the rulers, were treated in this way, and they allowed themselves to get divided and fighting each other. And now they realize that the real fabric, the foundation that keeps the nation together are the Hindu gurus. The Hindu gurus and the Hindu dharma, the temples, the ashrams. And so now the same process is being carried out to divide these people up, fragment them, take them on one by one, make accusations which are so hard, so negative that other gurus also will decide to distance themselves. So some weeks ago I made an appeal on behalf of Art of Living because they were being attacked, and I reminded that we should help them, but they should also help others. And now I'm saying that we are giving 4 other examples which are very prominent. All of them are well known. So I would like to see more support from the Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha, okay, which Swami Dayanand Saraswati set up, and I played a role there in the early years. But Swamiji is gone and there are other people running it, and I would really think that they ought to take this job, and there should be just bilateral friendship among gurus regardless of ideological issues. They may follow different lineages and different sampradayas, but so what? When there is an attack on one, others should come to their defense. With that, I will close, and thank you very much, Surendra Nath ji, for your help. Thank you. I want to tell my followers that these shows take a lot of resources, both here in New Jersey where we are doing all the editing and the technology, and also in India where the data is being gathered, and then we market this. So we need your support. So please do go to our website infinityfoundation.com and go to donate and be generous. We need your support. There is only so much we can do ourselves. We will continue as long as we get the community supporting us. Thank you very much.